The year is 1996. The place, Ukraine. A nation still grappling with the aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse, trying to find its footing amidst economic turmoil and political instability. A chill wind blows through the once peaceful countryside. The air is thick with an unspoken tension, a sense of foreboding that seems to whisper through the rustling leaves and empty fields. A shadow falls over the land. The shadow of Anatoly Onoprienko, a name soon to be whispered in terror. His presence is like a dark cloud, casting a pall over the serene landscapes and quiet villages. Onoprienko wasn't your average grocery store cashier or taxi driver. He blended into the background, an unremarkable figure in plain clothes, yet his eyes held a chilling intensity. He was a specter, a phantom of death, who decided to paint the Ukrainian countryside red. His movements were calculated, his intentions clear, to bring fear and chaos to the heart of Ukraine. They called him the Terminator, a name that evoked images of relentless pursuit and merciless execution, fitting for a man who seemed unstoppable. A fitting name for a man on a mission to extinguish life. His gaze was unwavering, his resolve unbreakable, as he embarked on his deadly crusade. His weapon of choice? A shotgun. Simple, yet devastatingly effective, it became an extension of his will, a tool of his dark purpose. Brutal, efficient, and terrifyingly loud. Each blast echoed through the quiet night, a harbinger of death that left no room for escape. He roamed the quiet towns and villages, leaving behind a trail of bodies and shattered lives. The once vibrant communities were now ghost towns, haunted by the memories of his rampage. This wasn't just murder. It was a rampage, a one-man war on the unsuspecting populace. The scale of his violence was unprecedented, a nightmare that seemed to have no end. But why? What drove this man to commit such unspeakable acts? Was it a twisted sense of justice, a deep-seated hatred, or something even more sinister? The answers remain elusive, buried in the shadows of his dark mind. Imagine, if you will, the terror that gripped the hearts of Ukrainians as news of each gruesome discovery spread. The air was thick with anxiety, and every new headline only deepened the collective dread. People clung to their radios and televisions, desperate for updates, hoping for some sign that the nightmare would end. Families huddled together, fear etched on their faces. Parents held their children close, whispering reassurances they barely believed themselves. The once lively neighborhoods now felt like ghost towns, with curtains drawn and doors bolted shut. The sense of community was replaced by an overwhelming need to survive. The police were baffled. Each crime scene was a horrifying jigsaw puzzle, with pieces scattered across the country. Detectives worked tirelessly, piecing together clues that seemed to lead nowhere. The forensic teams meticulously combed through evidence, but the answers remained elusive, adding to the frustration and fear. The body count rose steadily, each victim adding to the growing sense of panic. Every new discovery was a grim reminder of the danger lurking in the shadows. Red pins on maps marked the spread of terror, each one representing a life brutally taken. The nation watched in horror as the numbers climbed. Who was this monster preying on innocent families? The question haunted everyone, from the highest officials to the average citizen. Whispers of a shadowy figure spread like wildfire, each rumor more terrifying than the last. The fear of the unknown was paralyzing. The question hung in the air like the smell of gunpowder after a fatal blast. It was a constant, oppressive presence that no one could escape. The uncertainty gnawed at the edges of sanity, making every creak and shadow a potential threat. The pressure mounted on the authorities to catch the culprit. Meetings grew more intense, discussions more heated. Every lead was pursued with relentless determination, but the elusive nature of the killer made progress agonizingly slow. The weight of responsibility was crushing. The media had a field day, the headlines screaming about the elusive Terminator. Journalists scrambled to uncover any detail, any hint of the killer's identity. News anchors dissected every piece of information, feeding the public's insatiable hunger for answers. The story dominated the airwaves, a grim saga that seemed to have no end in sight. As investigators dug deeper, they began to notice a chilling pattern in the seemingly random killings. Onoprienko had a type: entire families, wiped out in cold blood. No witnesses left to tell the tale. He would often steal small, insignificant items from his victims' homes. A trinket here, a piece of clothing there. Trophies perhaps, mementos of his gruesome handiwork. One detail, however, stood out with bone-chilling clarity. After killing his victims, Onoprienko would often stop to eat at the scene of the crime. He'd calmly consume his meal amidst the carnage he had created. Talk about losing your appetite. For years, Onoprienko was a ghost, a whisper of death that haunted Ukraine. But even the most cunning predator eventually makes a mistake. In 1996, a break in the case came from an unexpected source. A witness managed to provide a description of Onoprienko and his car. The net was closing in. The authorities finally tracked him down to his girlfriend's apartment. It was a tense standoff. Onoprienko, armed and dangerous, was like a cornered animal. In the end, the law caught up with him. Onoprienko was arrested, ending his reign of terror. Section 5. A Mind Unraveled. Delving into Onoprienko's psyche. The nation breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Terminator was behind bars, but the question remained, why? What turned this seemingly ordinary man into a mass murderer? During his trial, Onoprienko's chilling confessions sent shockwaves through the court. He spoke of his crimes in a detached, emotionless manner, as if recounting a trip to the grocery store. His defense? He claimed he was following orders from voices in his head. These voices, he said, commanded him to kill. A classic case of the voices made me do it. Section 6. Inside the Mind of a Monster. The Making of a Murderer. Onoprienko's childhood was far from idyllic. Born in Ukraine in 1959, he experienced abandonment and neglect. His mother, unable to cope, left him to be raised in an orphanage. He was a troubled child, prone to fits of anger and violence. Some experts believe that these early childhood traumas may have played a role in shaping his dark destiny. Was he a product of his environment, a broken soul twisted by a cruel world? Or was there a darkness within him, an innate predisposition to evil? Section 7. Justice, but no peace. A nation seeks closure. The trial of Anatoly Onoprienko was a media spectacle. People were both fascinated and horrified by the man who had terrorized their country. In the end, the court found Onoprienko guilty of 52 counts of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he would spend the rest of his days contemplating his horrific deeds. But even with Onoprienko behind bars, the scars of his crimes ran deep. The families of his victims were left to grapple with the unimaginable loss and pain. Justice had been served, but true peace remained elusive. Section 8. The Spectre of Onoprienko. A Legacy of Terror. The case of Anatoly Onoprienko continues to fascinate and horrify people around the world. He has become a figure of morbid curiosity, his name synonymous with senseless violence. His crimes left an indelible mark on the Ukrainian psyche. Even today, the mention of his name evokes fear and revulsion. He is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the heart of man. Section 9. The Psychology of Evil. Decoding the Mind of a Serial Killer. Criminologists and psychologists have spent years studying Onoprienko's case, trying to understand what drove him to commit such atrocities. They have meticulously analyzed every detail, from his upbringing to his mental state, in an attempt to piece together the puzzle of his mind. Some believe he was a psychopath, incapable of empathy or remorse. His cold, emotionless demeanor and lack of guilt suggest a mind devoid of the basic human qualities that bind us together. Others point to his troubled childhood and possible brain damage as contributing factors. They argue that his early experiences and potential neurological issues may have shaped his violent tendencies. The debate about the nature of evil and what creates a monster like Onoprienko continues to this day. Experts from various fields, including criminology, psychology, and neuroscience, engage in heated discussions, each presenting their theories and evidence. There are no easy answers, no simple explanations. The human mind is a complex and often terrifying labyrinth, filled with dark corners and hidden pathways that defy understanding. The human mind is a complex and often terrifying labyrinth. Each theory, each piece of evidence, only adds another layer to the mystery, making it even harder to unravel. In Onoprienko's case, we are left to grapple with the chilling reality that some people are simply born evil. His story serves as a grim reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human soul, a darkness that, despite our best efforts, we may never fully understand. Section 10. Conclusion. The enduring mystery of Anatoly Onoprienko. Anatoly Onoprienko, the Terminator of Ukraine, died in prison in 2013. His death brought an end to his physical existence, but the questions surrounding his life and crimes linger. He remains one of the most prolific serial killers in history, a chilling reminder of the capacity for evil that resides within the human heart. His story serves as a cautionary tale, a dark fable that reminds us that monsters do exist, sometimes hiding in plain